Is love a feeling or is it a choice? I'd make the argument that the Bible tells us that love is something that we need to be intentional about, and it's a choice that we make. We choose to do it every single day, through the highs and the lows, through the good and the bad, right? Just like it says in 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Obviously, here love isn't described as an emotion, but a consistent action and a choice. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I think today, more than ever, people allow their emotions to dictate the decisions that they make, the way that they choose to act. And as a result of that, we see divorce rates through the roof. We see people jumping from job to job. And we see so much inconsistency in people's life because, again, emotions are like a roller coaster. They're going to be up and down. And if you allow those emotions to dictate the things that you do and the decisions that you make, then your life is going to be all over the place as well. And so the story of Jesus going to the cross and dying for our sins really depicts this. In Matthew chapter 26, verses 36 to 46, it's the story of Jesus going to the cross. So to give you some context here, it's the night before Jesus' crucifixion. And he knows all the pain and suffering that he's about to go through. And just like you or I, whenever we're going through something bad or we're about to go through something bad, we might look for another option, right? Look for an easier way out. And in Matthew chapter 26, verse 39, he says, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." And so he was asking God if there was another way. Do I really have to die for all of humanity's salvation? And obviously we know the story, he goes through with it. But if he allowed his emotions to dictate not going to the cross, right, then we wouldn't know the story of Jesus. Then we wouldn't have any salvation. And so I think this story from the Bible, Jesus showing his love through being obedient and taking action, even though obviously he didn't feel like going to the cross and still did it. It's a story that we need to emulate in our lives because, again, we can't just always be jumping around from one thing to the next just because our emotions tell us to do so. It applies in every aspect of life, your job, who you choose to marry, the relationships that you have, where you live, the things that you do, the decisions that you make. It all comes down to making a choice and sticking through with it. You know, another easy example to talk about is the honeymoon phase in dating. It's obviously exciting in the beginning. The first date, you're excited. The first few dates, you're excited. You know what I mean? It's the first time you're really, meeting somebody new. You're getting to know them. But after a long period of time of dating, engaged, then married, it just becomes normal. And the reason why I want to talk about this specifically is one for, the choice of who we choose to marry, but also because when I first graduated from school, I was trying to get advice from as many people as I could. I was networking, reaching out to alumni because I wanted to hear from other people and the advice that they had for me on my career. And what most people told me was to do what I love. And it's not to say that you can't find joy in the things that you do, but then what happens when you're not in love with what you do? Do you just give up? You move on to something else? And that's what we see most people, I would say, do today. When they fall out of love with whatever it is that they're doing, that they say that they initially felt like they loved in the beginning, they just move on to something else, right? Something that's going to give them a thrill, something that's going to excite them. But in reality, the same thing happens over time. It's exciting in the beginning, but then it just becomes so normal. And so like when I first moved down to Florida, it was so exciting, beautiful weather. I was going to the beach, I was going out, doing all these great and exciting things. And then after a long period of time, it just becomes something that I didn't really appreciate, right? And now I'm living in Chicago. Obviously the weather isn't as great here as it is in Florida. And, I was down there for a few years, right? And again, in the beginning, I loved it and enjoyed it, but it just became like anything else. Just like when I was living in New Jersey before that, you just get so wrapped up in your day-to-day, you're not really concerned about how beautiful it is out, and you don't really take advantage of the things that you think you would because you get caught up with life. And it's just the circle of life. But again, the point is that we can't allow those emotions to take us all over the place. The last thing I'll leave you guys with is in Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. It says, "And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity." And so when it says put on love, it's like putting on a shirt. You have to take action to put on clothes. It's not just an emotional response. And so again, love is a deliberate choice. It's not something that happens based on how you feel. I hope that you guys found value in today's video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate your time.